We know that love gives. We love because God first loved us and gave His Son's life so that we could live. Therefore, as a church, we will lead out in front of the world with radical generosity because we truly believe it's more blessed to give rather than to receive.
All right. God sure does have a sense of humor. Whew. I speak to thousands all the time, but it's been different for me. I get nervous and get sick then, but I knew when he asked me, I was like, in the McDonald's line, no, Dairy Queen, I said, you're joking. And I put him off for a couple days, and then God's like, Ashley, I've done told you this. I've done told you that you're going to be up there. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know where, but he had done showed me this. So when he asked me, I was just like, whew, get away. But so here I am, and I am excited. I've told some people this week, no, I'm not excited because you're excited to hear what I have to say. Well, I'm excited to hear what I have to say because it's all on him. Because I give it all to him, and he gave it to me yesterday, 6 hours. I never left my kitchen table. Marley rubbing me, praying for me the whole time, and she's been a trooper. So while he went to the ball game, I don't know how that works. I'll remember that when he's preparing. But, so guys, I am so excited to dive right in today to talk to you about irrational generosity. Wow. And we see that. We see that in our church. We see how we have been gifted that irrational generosity through all kinds of other people that has poured out to us in this church. And you know, I think about Acts 20:35. It says, be blessed. It's better to be blessed than to receive. And, you know, Christ laid that foundation for us early on when he gave his only son for us. He gave his only son for us. So that foundation has been laid down early on. So this subject is I'm passionate about generosity. I am. I get angry at people when they're not generous. You can ask my husband. So I'm very passionate about this subject. But I've not always been a generous person. I've not always. God's done a work in me. You know, I had this scarcity mindset that there wasn't enough to go around, that I had to hold back and not give, and because we needed what we had to have. You know, I didn't have that abundant that mindset that my God is greater than anybody else and he's going to make a way to give everything. I didn't have that mindset. And I'll tell you when I didn't have that mindset and when I had a revelation moment. Me and Mark had just went back to church, started going back to church. We was getting plugged in. We was very involved in our church. And he comes to me one Sunday morning and he goes, Ashley, today I'm going to give blah, 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 blah amount of dollars to the church. And I'm going, yeah, we're not doing that. We are not. First of all, they're not going to think they can cash that check. And secondly, we ain't going to have money to pay our bills. We're not doing that. And I was like, we can't do that. I was arguing the whole way to church. I was like, we can't do that. We are not. I did cry. We can't give that. You know, we're not doing that. And I was so in that scarce mindset thinking, what am I going to do? Not that my God is going to be there. We're going to give it to him. It's his anyways. That wasn't my mindset. So on the way to church, I'm still telling him, I'm like, so what about we write a check this week, we write a check this week, and we write a check this week, and we'll get to that amount that you want to give. So that's what he ended up doing. I mean, that's crazy on my part to even think that. It's crazy to think we can't give all we've got to him because we're not going to have enough. It's his anyways. We're just the managers of his money. So for me to think that and be in that scarcity mindset, he don't want us to do that. He wants us to live in abundance that we give him and then he prepares the way for the rest. But I didn't have that. So he's done a work in me. That was one of those big aha moments that he started cultivating and changing my heart to irrational generosity. Now, I could give everything I have away. And I don't care. And sometimes my husband has to hold in the reins and be like, Ashley, But I don't care. We give everything we have away because it's His. So that's the work that He started into me. And that's how it started. My heart changed. And that's why I'm passionate about this. So today, that's one of the values of our church. I believe that all God's people should have a rational generosity. So just a little bit in the book of Corinthians, I'm going to set the stage for you guys. Paul was trying to inspire the Corinthians to give to Jerusalem like it was their headquarters. He was telling the Corinthians about a group of people called the Macedonians. The reason Paul was so passionate about the Macedonians is they was this poor, poverty group of people, but they was going to give everything they had. And Paul was so passionate about them. So in 2 Corinthians 8:2, he said in the midst of a very severe trial there, overflowing joy. They had overflowing joy in the midst of a trial. Do we have overflowing joy in the midst of a trial? No, most of the time we don't. I know I don't. But they are so filled with abundant joy, they overflowed with rich generosity. Wow. I mean, wow, that gut punches me. To be overfilled with abundant joy and to give rich generosity. When I was meditating on that yesterday, I was like, man, I don't have that sometimes. As much as I would like to, I don't. That's hard. So he goes on to say in verse 4, they pleaded for the privilege of sharing the gift of believers in Jerusalem. They begged. They gave themselves, so they begged these people to give themselves and to give their gift. We don't beg a lot of times. We're not beating down the doors to beg to give. And that just, wow. So, they first gave all, in verse 5 it says, they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves first all to the Lord, and then by the will of God also to us. They gave their first to God. I can almost imagine Paul telling them, no, don't give. You have nothing. I can almost see him saying, don't give all that you have. Let somebody else do it, because of his passion for them and his heart for them. I don't know that, but that's what I would think. So when I was reading this yesterday, I had a few moments of prayer and I meditated on that, and just in awe that they had nothing, but they pleaded and begged to give all they had. So that's a far cry from what we are when I think about stuff today, and I think about how that is so different today, and how we don't, that's not our personality. That's not my personality. When we think about ministries and we think about church and nonprofits and charities, it's almost like we have to give gimmicks for people to give. Hey, I'll give you this if you'll do this. Hey, I'll give you this. It's not just freely give. So, that's a lot differently than people saying, hey, I urge you, I'm begging you to take. I'm pleading with you to give. So that just really, yesterday, that consumed me. Then in verse 5, it says, they go themselves and they first gave of themselves. They gave of themselves. So they gave their heart to Jesus. So that's all they knowed, was to give of themselves. Because they knew it was His anyways. So they gave themselves to Him. So now, guys, if you've been with us the past 2 weeks, we've done a scale from 1 to 10. And where do you see yourself on that generosity scale, on Irrational? You're not a 10 because you're not Jesus, and you've not gave yourself. And you're not a 1 because you're not the devil. I know Jens has at least opened the door for somebody and been nice to somebody in your time. So really sit and meditate on that today. From a 2 to a 9, where do you see yourself on that scale? Maybe you got lots of money and you give a big amount, but what do you keep for yourself? Maybe you have little money and you give all that you can, but what do you keep for yourself? So Then what if you're that person that is setting aside your tithe comes first? Then you're praying about offerings. You're praying about other ways to give to other people. And what if you're strategically about you giving? That's something that's set in your budget. Maybe you're that person. Maybe you're serving. Maybe you're giving of your time. So where today do you see yourself on that? It's hot up here. Where today do you see yourself on that scale? I had to really evaluate that. Do I give a lot of my time? I do. Do I give my money? I do. But sometimes do I do that with my whole heart and my love and my passion for Christ? So yesterday, this was hard for me too. Even though I feel like I'm a pretty generous person, it was hard for me too. I had to evaluate myself. So today, while you're sitting there, think about where are you at from that scale from 2 to 9. And you might be like me. It was difficult for me for years to be a giver. It was. I mean, I was trying to keep our tithes and not give them to God. And it's His money. It's His money in the beginning. So that's what I'm asking today, guys. How much do you use to bless others? I look at this church and I think, man, how much have we been blessed? Irrational generosity that's been given to us and poured all over us. Sometimes it's real overwhelming to think about. So today, I want to encourage you as a follower of Jesus to be irrational and generous. And I believe everybody should be that way. Isaiah says in 32:8, generous people plan to do what is generous, and they stand firm in their generosity. When the world is telling them to consume, a generous person stands firm and says, no, I give, because that's what Christ has done for me. So, don't miss the power in that, guys. Giving is not just something we occasionally do. Generosity is who we are, who we desire Christ to transform and cultivate our heart to be. So, I'm going to change gears with you, and I am going to use my note cards a lot because I wrote these down and I did not memorize them. But I have 5 steps that I think is important in cultivating your heart towards generosity. 1 is to recognize how much you have received in life. You can only give what you have. Ask God for revelation as the depth of His love for you and how much He has given you. He gave His only Son for you. That's pretty deep. And I don't meditate on that enough. I can't imagine giving one of my boys up for something. So that's pretty deep. Number 2, give from your heart. Giving should never be for show, but a heart of love and compassion. Jesus responded to the multitudes in the Gospels by healing their diseases and feeding them through His love and compassion for them. Number 3, move from a heart of discontent to a heart of gratitude. It is so easy for us to feel sorry for ourselves when we feel like face life challenges, but we can choose to respond in our situations. We can be angry, we can be bitter, or we can have a heart of gratitude and thankful for that. Thankful. And when we react, it gives other people a blessing to our reactions. If we're woe is me and not letting Christ shine to us, that's what they see. They don't see Christ. So number 4, look for opportunities to be generous. As you look around, you will find opportunities to use our time and our talents to serve others. The Holy Spirit will guide us in all truth. He will show us how to express love and generosity in ways that we never could have imagined. Number 5, commit to biblical stewardship. If we really believe that God owns everything, including our money and time, then we will be less tempted to hold on to what we have. If I would have realized that early on, it wouldn't have bothered me that He wanted to tithe everything we had. So, I didn't realize that. God's done a work in me. So, today I'm telling you to find some place. Find somewhere that your heart desires to plug in and use your gifts for generosity and go beyond that. Not just your gifts, but reach down deep for beyond. A lot of times we give a little, but we don't reach down deep to go beyond what we can give. So, I believe, just like in the book of Acts, two different times it tells us, if there was someone in need, Christians would take everything they had to sell and give that money to meet the needs of the people. Twice it says that in the book of Acts. So as followers of Jesus, man, could you imagine if we did that? Could you imagine how that would reach out into our communities? There would not be people in need. There would not be people in other countries if we reached out and done that. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine to not ever see somebody homeless or to ever see somebody hungry or to ever see somebody that didn't have something if we did what we were supposed to do. So, His grace, it also says His grace was at work in all of them. All of them. So no needy persons was among them. Wow. That is strong. I believe we could get attention from non-believers to draw them closer to Christ. That's our ultimate goal. But by showing that love and showing that compassion and showing that irrational generosity that is true from the heart, can you imagine what we could drive in? So I see a group of people who are not entitled, but see themselves as entrusted with God's resources to do everything imaginable. Guys, worship team, you can come up. Today, I see if we are the church, and we are the church, and we give everything we have in irrational generosity to people, we don't have to worry about anything else. We just manage His stuff, because it's not ours. It's not ours. So today when the worship team comes, I'm asking you, evaluate your heart. Where are you at in that scale from 2 to 9? Because we're not Jesus and we're not the devil. So, and I know somebody's opened the door for somebody. So we're at least a 2. But if your heart desires to move up on that scale, to be more radical in your generosity and irrational and give to Him, I ask that you come and talk it out with Him at this altar. I know I'm short-winded, but that's okay. I see us, as much as we've been blessed in this church, it's our time to go out, to give, and to be that irrational generosity for somebody else. Because it's amazing every day to walk in here and see stuff. Hey, we need this. Such and such gave it to us. That's how it's been this whole time. And this, for the people that's been here from the beginning, that we've got to walk in that irrational generosity from day one, from moving to here, from the whole time this church is. It's just been one step right after another. Amen. So that's been poured out on us. So it's our time to evaluate where we're at and pour that out on others. All right. So the altar's open. And I'm here to pray with anybody or anybody else.
Are you hurting and broken within? Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin? Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. behind your regrets and mistakes. Come today, there's no reason to wait. Jesus is calling. Bring your sorrows and trade them for joy. From the ashes a new life is born. Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide.